minus 1 minute.
What?
More juice for the hero.
Like the juice. Yeah.
T minus 50 seconds.
At the point where we're at, it is a lot easier for new people to get up to speed really quick.
T minus 40 seconds.
Let's go. That's a W. That's E1. That's E1. That's a W. How many people want to eat a W tonight?
T minus 30 seconds.
Rick Hill taking over our camera. I think there may be a penalty for excessive celebration, but you know what? I'm going to let that one slide.
T minus 20 seconds.
That's what I'm talking about. Now y'all some fun.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5,
Take a deep
4,
breath.
3,
This is it, right
2,
here.
1, 0.
Welcome back to the Football Card Quest. I'm your host, Andy Kaysen. Joined with me, as always, is Steve, the Hitman Caladesi. And we've got a lot to get to tonight, Steve. The NFL is evolving before our eyes. There's big coaching changes made this past week and some big injury updates, which is presenting some massive opportunities for players. So we want to dig into that NFL analysis and how it translates to football card investing, collecting all day, every day. Steve, how you doing, man?
Doing good, man. It's that time of the year. I don't know about it for some of you guys, but it's getting dark kind of early. So I hope you guys have had your coffee or whatever you need to get through the rest of the evening. But I'm ready to rock and roll and doing well. Last night I came back from like a 50-point deficit in one of my leagues because of Kelsey and Devontae Adams. So I'm happy about that.
Let's go. So I'm sure you saw Devontae Adams was super pissed off after that game last night and shoved the cameraman who was standing at the tunnel out of the way. Apparently he may face a single game suspension, kind of like Mike Evans did, plus a fine for that cameraman being shoved. And I was like, really? He should be mad at Hunter Renfrow, who ran right into him. And maybe it boils down to a bad play call altogether, but that was pretty wild.
You got to ask yourself, and obviously the Oakland's showing that they can be offensively capable, but how many leads are they going to blow? I mean, how many weeks in a row are they going to just blow leads? Just the defense isn't bad. It's got to be coaching. That's the only thing I could think of.
Yeah, man, very interesting storyline to follow with the Raiders. Josh Jacobs also had a massive night on the ground for them. I'm sure you were excited about that. I saw the little Josh Jacobs GIF you sent me, but like they're still 1-4, man. They're really struggling to win games. The ball just hasn't been bouncing their way, and this is definitely impacting their stock across the board. And it's like, yeah, man, I kind of want to buy in the dip on some of these Raiders guys just because there's some really good athletes on their team. But, man, I don't see them getting back to it's almost like it's almost like buying into Broncos players right now. It's really tough to pull the trigger on these Raiders players when I think they could continue to dip if they continue to you just lose like this.
No, I agree. I mean, there's no better time to buy in than when they're performing that badly. And I think that they've underwhelmed the first couple weeks, but they're bound to start winning a couple games here. They got a week off to get things reorganized. Hopefully that helps them out. But yeah, Jacobs is kind of projected to be kind of what I said he was. There was a lot of people fading him, before the season started as far as what his usage was going to be. Told you. He's just too good to keep off the field. So if you guys drafted him, like, I don't know, he was going in like the 8th in some cases. If you got him that late, you're loving life right now.
Yeah, and he's in a contract year, so that's all the more reason for him to maximize the opportunities that he is given. And he's clearly earned back like that bell cow role from Josh McDaniels, which you love to see. So I do have Josh Jacobs on a couple of my fantasy teams. I haven't pulled the trigger on any of his cards just because I've been focused on undervalued guys around the league. Some of the guys we're going to talk about tonight, just from a team perspective and an outlook perspective in their own division, it's pretty bleak right now for the Raiders. So it's hard for me to get on any type of playoff hope. At which point I think okay, I could buy into some Josh Jacobs, Devontae, Derek Carr, even Hunter Renfrow. I could buy into these guys pretty cheap. Look at the stock of Darren Waller right now is going down super low. I mean, he played one snap last night. The guy just can't stay healthy this year. And so, I mean, not necessarily saying that you could go out and you should go out and buy him right now. I think, though, that his rookie ticket autos are probably going to get Steve in that $5 to $10 range. I'm not kidding, man. I think that's how bad he's tanked this year. Plus, combined with the fact that the Raiders are tanking and the Chiefs and the Chargers are just still really good, and the Broncos. I mean, that's the one thing they have, that they beat the Broncos.
and then there's the Broncos. So yeah, man, they've underwhelmed. They've gotten out to some massive leads and just choked. There's really no other way around it. They just have. While we're talking injuries, I want to bring up one that really, really burnt me this week, and that is T. Higgins, who practiced and was active, but then what did he play, a couple snaps, and then he just sat the rest of the game. So I don't know about you guys, but I had him in quite a few leagues, and that one stung quite a bit. So.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what to make out of that T. Higgins. I have to look up the latest report on that, man, because I was puzzled by that myself, and I was like, man, what is going on here? It was like Joe Burrow was check down city, man. All he was doing was checking the ball down, and then you had the whole analysis around Joe Mixon giving away the play calls to the defense, but every time that Joe Burrow would call an audible behind center, Joe Mixon would stand up every time it was a run play and just giving themselves away. And T. Higgins, yeah, he's day-to-day with a sprained ankle. So he was active, but spent the majority of his night on the sideline. So he must have sprained his ankle in the beginning of that game. So he had 10 offensive snaps, and that was it. Sprained his ankle, and he was done. Okay, so that makes sense for the non-target night that he had on Sunday night. So that's definitely big. And the Bengals have got to get their act together. Carter thinks it's a lot of coaching and play calling. They've had poor offensive line play. It's not been good there, and they've definitely got to turn it around.
Yeah, I think a couple dead giveaways are obvious. You saw how hard they struggled without Higgins on the field. I think that it shows how important he is to that offense. And if you look at every game they've played this year, their third down play calling is just some of the worst I've ever seen. I mean, it's just not good. I mean, I don't know, with the offensive weapons they have, I don't know why they're calling these short little plays when they have field stretchers. I mean, Hayden Hurst has been pretty big for them. He's not putting insane fantasy numbers up, but he's done what they've needed him to do, and that's catch balls on the sideline or move the chains or whatever the case is. And they're just not managing the game correctly.
No, they are not. Jamar Chase, his average yards per target was 11.4 last year. This year it's been 4.2 yards per target. So their last 3 games, he's only had 18 receptions, and only 6 of those 18 have turned into plays greater than 10 yards. The Bengals have got to rediscover what they had in 2021. This T. Higgins sprained ankle definitely is not going to help. But I would think, I guess, if anything, I'd see an uptick in targets for Hayden Hurst. He had a nice little revenge game there Sunday night. And then also Tyler Boyd. And, outside of that, I guess Mike Thomas, he's like a super deep sleeper guy that may be available in your leagues that may see a slight uptick in targets. Not the Michael Thomas in New Orleans, but Mike Thomas in Cincinnati. He's a guy out of 2016, a 6th-round draft pick. So he's not a guy that you're going out to buy his cards. It just, he's never really amounted to a whole lot in the NFL. Never put up more than 130 receiving yards an entire season. So it's not a guy you want to go out and invest in. If anything, I'd say, okay, let's see if we can buy the dip in Jamar Chase. Let's see if we can buy the dip in Burrow and Mixon too, even though Mixon had his best rushing performance of the season this Sunday night. See if we can buy the dip into some of those studs already, kind of bona fide on the team.
Yeah, that was a harsh way to lose too. I mean, they went from putting up 500, 600 yards on the Ravens last year to clunking it out. So definitely a little bit to be worried about, but they have too much talent to be to sink the rest of the way out. I think they'll still be all right.
Yeah. Let me say what's up to Derek, Leroy, Mark, Matt, Messiah, Family Burliner, CH, Bud Burns, Anthony Pellegrino, and Dequan. Bud Burns. Let's see. Dequan's got we have our first round of bye weeks this week, man, which is interesting. So we're finally at that point of the season. You got Detroit, Houston, Las Vegas, which you just mentioned, and Tennessee out this week on bye week. Tennessee and Houston coming off of a couple wins there for them, and Detroit coming off of that shutout loss against the Patriots, in which Amon-Ra St. Brown was clearly on a snap count. They brought him back too quick. I think, a guy like that, to get maximum explosiveness, you need to give him his full amount of time. All right. And they're lacking offensive weapons there at this point, and they were just out coached on Sunday. So Detroit definitely needing the week off. And let's see what Dequan's question here. He has, who do I start at running back? I have Dobbins, Rashad White, Antonio Gibson, or A.J. Dillon. I have so right off the bat, I'm going to go ahead and say J.K. Dobbins or A.J. Dillon. Now, A.J. Dillon has not had the start to his season that you want, has not been efficient at all, but the snap share is still there. The opportunity share is still there, but Dobbins is getting all the high-value rushing opportunities in a Baltimore offense. They're playing the Giants this weekend. So it's the Giants defense has actually been playing pretty decent, but an offense as explosive as Baltimore, Steve, you got to think that J.K. Dobbins, his path to finding the end zone at least once or twice, plus, racking up 30 to 40 rushing yards. He's got the safest floor out of any of these guys he's put up here on the screen right now, in my opinion.
I think Dillon is like the safest play, but he hasn't been getting a lot of like meaningful touches, and they haven't been throwing to him either, which I don't really understand. Dobbins is one to watch this week because he didn't play a lot in the second half. He may have not even played in the second half at all this week, so I don't know what the story behind that is. That if he's hurt or if they're just trying to limit his reps or what the case is. But 2 weeks ago, he looked outstanding. So, I mean, you got to know that he's the real deal. It's just a matter of, will they put him out there?
Yeah, good point. 39% snap share Sunday night, only 8 carries, ran 9 routes, 44 total yards. So only 4.4 fantasy points, but you're right, 22.3 the week prior. So let's look at what J.K. Dobbins' current status is. It was probably more of a it was just more of a usage standpoint. I think it was the fact that the Ravens got Devin Duvernay more involved in the run game this week and also found 5 runs for their other back. So they mix it around a lot, which was interesting compared to the 52. So you're right. And maybe it's something interesting. Maybe it was an intentional limit him on his return from the ACL. So maybe it's something to do with that. Otherwise, I mean, I like the matchup against the Giants. I don't mind it too terribly bad, but you're right. I mean, A.J. Dillon's, you got to think that he's due for some positive, like, regression here to back to week 1. where he had a 50% snap share and put up 20 fantasy points. He hasn't crested 10 fantasy points since.
Yeah, he's basically in a work share, almost 50-50. So he's bound to bounce back at some point. I would say he's probably the safest play this week, but Dobbins has the highest ceiling of those guys. Gibson has just been too limited now that, with Brian Robinson back. So I think Dillon, but Dobbins would be the second best option.
Yeah, I think you do have to play A.J. Dillon. They're playing at home against the Jets here. The Jets currently rank 21st in defensive DVOA. So I kind of like also the Jets have the ability to now throw the ball, and they have a run game of their own. So they're a pretty interesting offense to watch now, man. I kind of like this matchup. The only thing I don't really like is the fact that the Packers still play pretty slow, and that just means fewer opportunities. But I like this matchup with Green Bay at home against the Jets. There could be this has some interesting paths to putting up some fantasy fireworks here. So I kind of like that AJ Dillon play, because you at least know like the minimum snap share he's gonna get is 30 to 40%, more like a 50% snap share. He's gonna get at least 5 to 10 carries. If they're in a positive game script scenario, you should expect him to get more like 10 to 15 carries plus a couple targets and receptions. So I agree with you. I think there's a safer floor there in Dillon now that I'm looking at the numbers.
I like the question by Family Berliner. The 20 and 21 optic rated rookie variations. I think they're really nice, but I do also agree with your second part of the question. The 2020 optic black and white variations, I think, are outstanding, and they go really below value a lot of the times. And you can find them. They're not necessarily more common, but they're more readily available because people haven't quite figured out the scarcity on those. So yeah, if you find some, definitely grab them up.
Very nice. Oh, okay. I found it. 2020 and 21 interesting. Yeah, I think there is market inefficiency there, and I think that's what you were alluding to, right, Steve? I mean, there's like the previews, for example, the optic previews, which are an insert, a short print insert within the base Donruss set. There's that from 2020, and I'm pretty sure, yeah, they did it in 2021 as well. So, I mean, there's that's kind of like a market inefficiency. I think you could say even the same thing about the black and white photos from Prism, the Prism negatives, which are clearly more rare than the base Prism. And yet a lot of times I see them go for the same, but sometimes then I see them go for a lot more, especially in like high graded format and stuff.
I think you have just the common knowledge that, people they're looking for the silver. I think that's just like, with the black and white variations being rather new, I think that's just maybe doesn't have the same lasting appeal. Although there's definitely an appeal there. I have a couple of the black and white Burrows, I think maybe one Herbert, and quite a few of the Hurts that I bought like a year or two ago. I think they're nice, man. I think that they do look great, and they are awesome cards. So if you can find deals on them, they should be going. I mean, they should be going for as much as the silvers. Not sure why they don't, but they might one day.
Yeah, great point. So I want to transition to some live eBay sniping here, Steve, potentially, because there is one running back, a rookie, and we know what rookies, the effect that they can have on the football card market because they're so young. There's such an unknown ceiling. They have this high potential in, the hobby's eyes coming out of the gates. It takes a very little bit of production, performance on the field to drive a massive demand effect for their rookie cards on eBay. And you have that combined with a limited supply. Like you don't have the optic or the Donruss and all this stuff. So makes it challenging. It also makes it for some very interesting variance in what you could see close an auction versus what you can sell in a buy it now on the weekend. And we just looked at, like I just showed out this effect on Breece Hall from this past week and finally getting his breakout game with the Jets, man. Total bell cow, just taking over that backfield, even though Michael Carter still managed to vulture 2 touchdowns for him. But this guy is the guy that was arguably the best pure runner coming out of the draft, an early second-round pick, went to the Seattle Seahawks that we didn't really expect much out of the Seahawks offense coming into the season, but we didn't realize Geno Smith just didn't write people back, and he was going to freaking ball out this year, and the Seahawks were actually going to play much better than average, currently ranked first in offensive DVOA, believe it or not. That's in large part thanks to the Geno Smith efficiency, and also Rashad Penny was playing pretty well, and he just fractured his tibia. He's out for the season, man. Rashad Penny done, and we knew it could be a possibility. Rashad Penny's one of those guys who's injury prone, and here it is, man. They fractured his tibia against the Saints this past weekend, so this opens the doorway for Kenneth Walker III here to just absolutely break out in a big way. And I'm excited about it. I want to look at sniping some Kenneth Walker III cards. I think they have a juice. Yeah, they get the Cardinals at home. Now the Cardinals, they did play good this past weekend against the Philadelphia Eagles, surprisingly. But before that, they were like, I mean, they were not playing good. I mean, they were like, in terms of overall defense, DVOA, they're still ranked 26th. But, I mean, their run defense this past week was a little bit better.
I mean, maybe next week when, when they get Hopkins back, maybe it'll be different. But they look really bad. Their secondary looks bad. Their offense looks bad. I mean, they got a long way to go if they're going to try to compete. I mean, even in the, weak NFC, which, we kind of thought that the AFC was going to be like all these big heavy hitters, and some of these heavy hitting teams that we thought are not hitting so heavy to start the year. So, there's a long way to go, but I think that, they're going to have to do a bit more if they want to compete. Hopkins is another guy to watch because he's coming back next week.
He's coming back next week, but they're playing in Seattle. And so the thing is, like, Seattle's had one of the worst defenses in the NFL. And Seattle's had a terrible defense, and so that's why they've been throwing the ball a lot more. But also that presents more red zone opportunities. It presents more rushing opportunities. Kenneth Walker already had a monster run when he did get run this past weekend against the Saints, who've had a pretty good run defense. Kenneth Walker is only 22 years old. That, we talked about him having early second-round draft capital. He ran a 4.38 at the NFL Combine. That puts him 98th percentile speed. He's best comparable to LaDainian Tomlinson on playerprofiler.com. He had a 99th percentile college dominator score in Michigan State. This guy was absolutely fantastic as a running back for Michigan State. Put up 1,600 rushing yards on 263 rushing attempts in 2021 through 12 games and 19 total touchdowns. The only thing he didn't get were the targets. So we're looking at this guy as also an early declare and going in the early second round. Seahawks love to run the ball. I think we can expect Kenneth Walker III here to get a pretty healthy a workload of 70, whatever Rashad Penny. I mean, and plus some. I mean, they're going to give him probably a 70 to 75% carry share at least. I would say that's probably going to be about what his snap share is as well, man. Especially if they can control the flow and pace of this game. And when you're playing in Seattle and you have that extra man of the element of the noise, I really like this situation for Kenneth Walker here to break off some big ones against the Arizona Cardinals defense, who ranked bottom in the league in week 4 and week 2 against the run. and they just happen to play good against Philadelphia, the Rams, and decent against Kansas City and against the run, but not against the pass. Like they played the best against the pass against Philadelphia this past week with a little bit above average. Otherwise, they played terrible. You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking at this team as a perfect week for us to get in on some Kenneth Walker third.
Yeah, I think a lot of what people were worried about was legit, and that was him being behind Penny, who had, seemingly like mostly soft tissue injuries most of his career. But I mean, you break a bone. It can happen to anybody in the wrong situation. But now he's coming into a starting role in what we didn't know would be a high-powered offense. So you got to be excited about that. Key note as well, from my observation, if you're in a fantasy league, I'm seeing a lot of him on free agency. So that could be a guy that, you can grab if you have other key running backs hurt or on bye week.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I think Kenneth Walker is available in quite a few fantasy leagues. I've seen a lot of sold transaction for him, Steve, but I'm not necessarily seeing anything that's I'm not seeing anything that's too high that's telling me that he's out of the ballpark. Like I was looking at Dameon Pierce, who this card right here for Dameon Pierce is selling for about $40. And so that's basically driven off of the production that Dameon Pierce has put together on the field. Even though he's on the Houston Texans, like forget about that. You just watch Dameon Pierce's highlight thus far, and it's like, wow, man, this guy's good. He's a good football player. I mean, he is a bruiser of a running back. Kind of reminds you of how Javonte Williams burst onto the scene last year with all those broken tackles. I mean, the broken tackle highlight reel from Dameon Pierce this past weekend was just insane, man. I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Like there was just Jacksonville Jaguars falling all over this guy and not able to bring him down. It was pretty insane, So like, I love to see that kind of stuff from a running back. That goes a long ways for their cards. And Kenneth Walker has that ability to break off some big plays, any given run. And I'm excited about the opportunity this weekend. Cardinals also play fast. So there's just a thought there that he could get a lot more run. It's kind of difficult still, but here we go, man. Pen Pal's Blue Ink Auto Kenneth Walker III ending in an hour for $23.27. And so I pulled up a couple other guys because I wanted to compare this to the other rookies that we're looking at right now. And that's Breece Hall, that's James Cook, that's your boy Brian Robinson, who's coming back this Thursday night. Like he had a couple carries this past Sunday. It definite ease you into it, Brian. Let's see if you're good. I expect that to pick up this Thursday night. And then you've also got Isaiah Pacheco, still very much like a third string running back kind of at this point for the Chiefs. Dameon Pierce, we talked about. Tyrion Davis-Price, another third string running back for the 49ers. Rashad White, still a clear backseat to Leonard Fournette here in Tampa. Jaylen Warren, who actually is pretty dang good for Pittsburgh, surprisingly. He's been a lot more efficient than Najee Harris, in fact. And then you have Isaiah Spiller, who's been injured. Zamir White on Vegas, who's another third string running back at this point, and Hassan Haskins, who's buried behind Derrick Henry. So in terms of rookie running back, it's pretty focused, right? I mean, Breece Hall, you have Brian Robinson coming back, but you really have Breece Hall, Dameon Pierce as the two big guys, the guys that are playing the best, getting the most opportunities and making the most with it. And then behind that, now you've got Kenneth Walker, who could potentially emerge this weekend as a new, league winner type of running back. And it's exciting because I think there's a lot of opportunity there. And,
by being a rookie, you get certain levels of forgiveness for not being on a winning team. So, they kind of get a pass because they're rookies. But, if down the road, things don't turn around, maybe it might affect them. But as you can see, Dameon Pierce is a perfect example. He's not only outperforming most people's expectations, but he is their entire offense. Now, someone asked about Nico Collins. If you haven't been paying attention, he's slowly becoming their primary target on the offense, even over what's his face. But he's quickly becoming the target leader over there, and I think that if he builds a rapport with the general, then he's going to be his guy going forward. So if you look, his production's steadily growing. I think it's going to continue to grow, especially if they continue to be behind in games.
Yeah, I mean, look at Davis Mills. He's got really nowhere to go but up at this point. I think, man, it's not as bad as Justin Fields in terms of just passing attempts, like as a whole. Davis Mills actually put up over 1,000 passing yards and has thrown the ball 166 times and 62% completion percentage, which is not bad, but he ranks 13th in danger plays, 11th in interceptable passes, and 19th in pressured throws. His efficiency is, I would say, it's some of the stuff is not bad. Like, he's been under a lot of pressure. His pressured completion percentage here ranks third amongst quarterbacks with 56%. He's just not putting up like clean pocket when he has time, 31st. True completion percentage when you factor out unpressured throwaways and drop passes is number 23. So it's like when he has time, he's not playing good. He's not, throwing the ball well, but when he doesn't have time, he's throwing it better. I like Nico Collins. He's a much bigger target than Brandon Cooks, and he's still very young. Like, he's still got this, entire career ahead of him. He's only a second-year player. So it's interesting. There's definitely a lot of negative game script. If Dameon Pierce doesn't just put that team on his back like he did last weekend, then yeah, they are in a lot of negative game script typically.
Andy, I wonder if there's got to be a lot of other people thinking about this, because I know I have lately, and we're at like a weird junction for football collecting right now where you have rookie cards coming out for like two distinct draft classes. Like, you have last year's rookie class still coming out, still being printed, and you have now this year's new sets coming out in like their first couple sets of pro uniform stuff. So it's real easy to get confused and forget which guys are the new rookies and which aren't. But I think that actually in a way helps the previous draft class collectability as far as considering them rookies still.
That's a great point, Steve. I found that there is a lot of excess supply because you look at the releases too. Optic, the Select that recently came out for last year's draft class, those are major releases that are hobby and retail formats, and there's just so much more supply because it's also very popular sets, and so there's a lot of those breaks going down, right? There's so many more Optic and Select hobby boxes and blaster boxes sold than there is Prestige or Elite or Score. And so you have this supply still flooding eBay for guys from last year, which is why you still see Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith, Optic Hollows cards that for Justin Jefferson in 2020 are 30, 40, and I saw him get up to $75 cards, but for Devonta Smith and Jalen Waddle from 2021, they're still $5, $10 cards. That's just because of the excess in supply. I don't really necessarily think that Panini ramped up production that much year over year. Maybe they added a few new parallels. Maybe they added a few extra cards, but I can't imagine the production was really ramped up that much. I think it's just the perception because of the late releases and how late these are. So I'm totally with you, man. I think for a lot of reasons, you can still kind of treat last year's guys as rookies to kind of invest in this year.
Yeah, and it might work. It might work to your advantage in some cases where you might have someone that's only honing in on this rookie class and kind of put some last year guys on the back burner. But I'm still big on, like you said, Waddle from last year. Like, he's still got new rookie cards coming out, but people are maybe going all in on some of the guys that are just being printed. So that might present a buying opportunity.
This is a big one, Steve. Speaking of running backs, Damian Harris has suffered an injury and is going to miss some extensive time. And it looks like Ramondre Stevenson is going to get that bell cow. I mean, he was already kind of taking over this backfield. We knew he was a better receiver. This guy has just been so good in terms of efficiency, yards after contact. And now he gets an even further opportunity. So, and we know that the Patriots are one of the biggest markets in the league. So, I mean, I'm curious. I want to pull up some Ramondre Stevenson and see if he's still undervalued, because if he is, I mean, this is a perfect opportunity.
It looks like I bought that field level silver at the right time last week, though.
Trying to get the deets on Damian Harris's hamstring. Okay, it was a hamstring. I wasn't sure what it was. Hamstring likely missed multiple games. So, yeah, I mean, hamstrings are sensitive. Look at Keenan Allen. Dude, he's now on what? Week 4, missing 4 weeks now, and he's not even a sure thing this week, still with a hamstring. So, yeah, man, there you go. Open season for Ramondre Stevenson, the 4th round draft pick from last year's draft out of Oklahoma. The guy, let's look at Ramondre's cards real quick, and also want to look at his efficiency. You know, they run the ball a ton in New England. You never know when, and we talked about this last week, man. You never know. It's hard to game plan against Bill Belichick, and he showed it this past weekend, putting a hurting on Jared Goff, man. Matthew Judon ate him for lunch. But
Pats can walk out, not necessarily the best talented guys out there on defense, but Belichick will exploit small little inconsistencies in any team, and he showed that this week by a lot. And by the way, Bailey Zappi, could he be the starter for that team? I talked about it last week. Maybe not so much of a conspiracy theory anymore as it is possibly realistic, and maybe it won't happen right away, but it's at least on the table. If Mac Jones comes back, has a couple of clunkers.
I'm getting in on this one, man. Silver Prism, Optic, Rookie Ticket Auto, Ramondre, right here on top. It was going way too low, $24.50. I didn't put in a real aggressive bid or anything, but ends in a minute. We'll keep an eye on that one, because this is what I'm talking about. See, it's just there's a lot of supply. I mean, look at all the pretty desirable cards ending in auction within the next couple minutes, and I'm sure this is kind of pales in comparison to what it was last night, because I still look at the data, Steve, on a weekly basis, and I see just tens of thousands of auctions ending Monday night, and I would say about 75% of it is 2021 product. A lot of 2021 Select, 2021 Optic, 2021 Prism, and then it's 2022, and then it's 2020. So you've got so much supply still circulating now in these breakers and rippers, big consignment shops. They're putting everything to auction because they want to move the product. And when you do that, that presents such a nice opportunity to snipe these cards super low.
Yeah, and I think the buying opportunity on Stevenson comes because he hasn't really done a lot this year. I mean, he's done pretty well with the limited opportunities he's had, but he hasn't gotten a bulk of the goal line work. But now, I mean, though they have some other young backs, I think he'll be, the focal point of the offense, because they are kind of either really balanced or run heavy at times.
Yeah, he's number 10th right now in the NFL in terms of rushing yards, 372. What he's doing really good at, though, talk about advanced efficiency. All right, juke rate, which is evaded tackles per touch. Number 1 in the NFL, number 1 running back in the NFL in juke rate with almost a 62% juke rate. And that's because he's got 50 total evaded tackles, 50 evaded tackles, which ranks number 2. He's already got 8 breakaway runs, which are runs of over 15 yards. Those are the kind of runs that put up big highlights. This guy is just, I mean, he's a machine, dude. He's a machine. And he can also catch the ball. He's got soft hands. He creates yards. He gets it done. And I think we're getting ready to see a pretty big, I mean, look at this past week, right? Damian Harris goes down. Ramondre Stevenson gets an 84% snap share. 84% snap share, 25 carries. That's the kind of football that the New England Patriots want to play, Steve. And that's pretty exciting, man, for Ramondre Stevenson, collectors, investors. I think he's a guy that you could flip here. They get the Browns this upcoming Sunday, 1 p.m. in Cleveland. I like this matchup, man. I like it a lot because Austin Eckler just gashed up the Browns on the ground this past weekend. And I think that the Browns can definitely be had on the ground here.
Yeah, I mean, they performed admirably against the Chargers, although I will say the Chargers didn't play that great. But I think that as crazy it is to say that, I think the Cleveland defense will provide a little bit more of a challenge than the Lions, which has just been like every fantasy player's wet dream, if you will. You know, you want to start anyone going against Detroit, and if Zappy starts again and Stevenson presumably starts this week, which I'm assuming he will, it could be a great week for him to cement maybe a larger lion's share of the carries, even when the other gentleman comes back.
Dude, Ramondre Stevenson is going to be the chalk play this weekend on your daily fantasy, your fantasy leagues. He's a must start. I mean, the Browns defense currently ranks 30th in defensive DVOA, and the Patriots offense ranks near the top 10 in the league in terms of rushing offense. So this is just and the Browns want to run the ball. That's what they want to do as well. You see Jacoby Brissett kind of lost him this game again. Every time they ask him to throw the ball, they just got to keep running it, man. You just got to keep running it with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, preferably Nick Chubb, just because he's so good. And that's what the Browns want to do, man. They want to run the ball. So, but their defense hasn't been able to stop opponents from running the ball. So you could just see this like a running back slugfest here. And if you look at what Nick Chubb, like if we were to look at the equivalent scarcity of a Nick Chubb card, obviously Ramondre's got a long ways to go to put up the same, amount of performance as Nick Chubb. But I mean, he's got the open floor here to do it this weekend, just to have a monster game and for the next few weeks.
Did you win that rookie ticket?
Oh,
I may not have updated on the home screen there, but
20. And see, I should have put in something like that's a good learning lesson for you guys. If you really want something, just go ahead and bid an extra $4. Like, honestly, I think this card,
I thought it'd go for like 35 probably, but
yeah, I would have loved to get it for 25, what I was trying to get it at, or 28, thinking that I could flip it for, between 50 and 60 and a buy it now, maybe a little bit more. As the supply dwindles on this player's cards, then it becomes even more valuable. But somebody got a really solid deal there, man. I mean, great deal.
Yeah, I think he'll have a great week. And one thing about Cleveland, and we talk about like people aren't as keen on investing in running backs that are not rookies or second year guys, but there's a legitimate reason to maybe invest in Chubb. And there was a stat during the Thursday night game a few weeks ago, and he's the only player to have 4 consecutive seasons of, I can't remember the exact numbers, it was like 5 point something yards per carry and be in the Pro Bowl. You got to think that this is an era where that's extremely uncommon to have a bell cow running back, and if he can put a few more of those together, you might have a legitimate argument for a Hall of Fame possibility. Now, they're not going to any playoffs or Super Bowls anytime soon, which would catapult him up there, but he's definitely good enough, right?
Congrats to Matthew Hovis here. He actually had that bookmark for the past few days and got it from me. Yeah, man, don't let it squeeze through your hands. I just stumbled upon that just now, trying to get lucky on a stream. Highly unlikely in terms of eBay eBay expected value. There's a new stat for you, Derek Richard. We're going to start talking eBay plus or minus EV. Definitely minus EV whenever I'm trying to snipe cards on a football card live stream. But I got the eBay hitman here with me, so I might get lucky tonight. We might get lucky because what about I mean, this is my take. I cannot get into Kyler Murray and any Arizona. Like, I've looked how good Marquise Brown is playing, and I've got some nice Marquise Brown cards in my eBay store and in my collection from before the season, and he's played really good. And you have DeAndre Hopkins coming back, and Kyler Murray certainly is a guy that's just, as in terms of a quarterback, his cards have gotten very cheap compared to where they were. If you go back and look at what they were a year ago, the year before. I can't get into the Cardinals right now, looking at their upcoming schedule and looking at the division that they're in. Steve, it's like the schedule is tough. I mean, and we talked about them playing the Seahawks this weekend at Seattle. Okay, are they going to win that game? I don't know. That's up in the air. I mean, then they have the Saints on Thursday night. They could win that game. So it's like a lot of their games are coin tosses, and maybe you buy that coin toss. Hey, maybe you buy that coin toss. The ball bounces their way. They go on a little win streak here. Let's say they beat Seattle, Saints, Minnesota. Then they get Seattle again. And then the Rams, the 49ers. So there is a potential. I'm not going to say, like, now that we've seen what some of these teams are. And then I'll also talk about I also want to talk about the 49ers, Steve, but what's your take on buying into Kyler? I'm going to pull up his chart right now. We'll see what his cards are actually doing.
I mean, if he's got two matchups with Seattle coming up, it might be a good quick flip. Even if you're not buying him long term, you could argue that those are two games that he could put up almost for sure as two highest passing totals of the year, and then maybe sneak out. I've never been big on Kyler. I think he's got great upside. He's not playing great, I don't think. And that lime green suit he wore to the game was enough for me to not want to buy his cards anymore, in all seriousness. But yeah, he's kind of like, I don't know. I think he's a hold for me. I've bought a little bit of him before the season. He's got all the talent. I like Marquise Brown. He still hasn't gotten the respect he deserves. If you could trade for him in any of your fantasy leagues before people realize how good he is, that's a great one. I think he's a hold. I'm not buying into him too much. I don't like what I've seen from that team, and he is down though. He is down.
Yeah, I'm looking at where just his base donruss PSA 10, where it was October this time last year. I mean, we're looking at $150, $200 card, a high of $260. Currently, you can get that card for about $40 in auction. And you just like go compare that to what an AJ Brown, cards of same condition. He is very much down, very much down. So there's a massive opportunity. You can see 32% down on the select PSA 10. Prism down 10%. So there's been a slight, looks like, appreciation. And maybe this is because, obviously down still big time. Like a year ago, $400, now currently at $70, $99.99 to buy it now, $80. This card's got a population of 2,770. So definitely available cards out there. If you wanted to get one of these, I'm sure you could be patient here in the next week or maybe in the next couple days. I'm sure you could get a Kyler Murray 2019 Prism PSA 10 or maybe even a rookie ticket auto for like $200. I mean, that's the kind of price levels I think you can find on Kyler Murray. The one thing I'll say, green suit aside, Steve, I'm looking at his advanced metrics. He is number 3 right now in terms of accuracy rating, which basically grades the accuracy of each throw on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 representing obviously the least accurate and 10 being the most accurate. He's at an 8.3. He's number 4 in true completion percentage, which factors out unpressured throwaways and drop passes. Where he's been bad at, which he was really good at last year, is deep ball. He ranks 24th in deep ball. He ranks 24th in pressured completion. 19th in play action, 24th in red zone completion. So that's not great. In clean pocket, though, 11th. and they are throwing the ball at the highest rate in the NFL right now, 43.8 pass plays per game. That's ranks number 1 in the NFL. They're number 2 in pace of play. So I like the fact that they play fast. They throw the ball a lot, but they're in these negative game scripts all the time. And so Kyler Murray, I think that their offensive play calling lacks creativity. And so this is definitely affecting the Arizona Cardinals. And Kyler Murray is kind of saving Cliff Kingsbury in a way. It's not bad. Like, honestly, if you can get past the lime green suit, I think it's not a bad guy to say, hey, I'm gonna hedge my bets here a little bit, and I'm gonna buy some Kyler Murray because he's one of those guys that I'm looking at the schedule. He could go on a win streak if their defense continues to play the way it did against the Eagles this past weekend. Like, if we get that version of the Arizona defense, then the Arizona offense has the ability to get D-Hop back. They could go on a little win streak here. It's also important to note, Steve, I was looking at the injuries, very notable injuries to the San Francisco 49ers, their division rivals in the NFC West. They lost Emmanuel Mosley, cornerback, Sunday to an ACL injury, done for the season. All right. He was one of their starting corners, a key component. Cornerback Jimmy Ward, another key component of their defensive secondary, broken hand, goes on IR. He was just activated off IR, played just one snap before breaking his hand, going back. It says that he should be back within 75% of players with broken or fractured hands return to play after 8 weeks, 50 needing just 3 weeks to return. Also, Nick Bosa, groin injury. So it looks like he may do not miss any time. So it says Kyle Shanahan mentioned afterwards the injury was mostly tightness. So, okay, they definitely lost key components to their secondary, but you get D-Hop back, Marquise Brown playing good. I don't know. This could be interesting here for the Cardinals over the next few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, getting your primary pass catcher back, will do a lot of good things for you. And, last year not having a Marquise Brown on the team, we saw how good they played during the regular season last year. If they can recreate that with essentially a better receiving core, he could make that regular season run again. I thought that he just hasn't been the same since that playoff loss last year. He's just looked really inconsistent, made a lot of bonehead throws and bad decisions. But, are we calling it that? Is that who he is, or is that an aberration?
Well, there definitely is questions in my book around the leadership and the coaching when we get down the stretch, and I think that's a big part of it. Like, he doesn't have good coaching to really look up to. I think he kind of needs that, but he's definitely got the talent. He's got the ability. I think it's a guy that you don't want to be like, in my opinion, like, I'm looking at this, like this right here, dude. Probstein 123 base select, but it's a PSA 10. So I'm all about that PSA 10 grade. Right now, this ends in 12 minutes. It's $26 right now. So I would come over to our Keep 'em app, which you guys can get access to over at patreon.com/footballcards. I would come and see what this card's been selling for recently. 31, 1850, 31. So I'm like, okay, what was it at for a year though? So the trend like last year though was 150. So like I'm getting an idea of what the ceiling is, for that card, about $150, $200 maybe max in a playoff run or something. But ultimately I'm looking at getting this card for 30 and flipping it for like 100,
And if you were the guy that bought that for $18.50, man, congrats. Because like I said, I'm not too high on him right now. I do have some pretty nice stuff of his that I'm holding, hoping that he returns to form. But I mean, like we've said before, like any card realistically has a good price, right? And he's too good of a player to be going for $18.50 in a PSA 10 slab for a rookie, right? So yeah, there's definitely good buys to be had, and just don't go nuts and buy any crazy 101s for 10 grand or anything like that. You'll be all right.
Yeah, and I just don't want to be. I don't want to be that guy that's 4 weeks from now, after the Cardinals have gone on a 4-0 win streak, and Kyler has just been playing lights out, and then they get D-Hop back and they put up some of those crazy highlights, and all of a sudden his cards are back up to just not to where they were last year, but just to a respectable amount compared to where they're at now. And it kind of goes into Jay Buen's comment here about what the Josh Allens and the Lamars are at and stuff like that. So, I just don't want to be, I kind of want to hedge my bets and like get some diversified exposure. And I don't want to be sitting back like, oh crap, that's right. Like Kyler Murray was so cheap there in week 5. And now all of a sudden in week 10, week 11, he's won 4 or 5 games in a row, and he's got his main weapon back. And so now they're more balanced and their defense is playing better. And all of a sudden his cards are just back up, to a respectable amount. Maybe this card gets up to 60, 70, maybe $100, and you never know with the injuries to San Fran. You never know what happens down the stretch. I mean, the Cardinals are notorious for flaming out at the end of the season. And Cliff Kingsbury's been notorious for that going back to his college days. So I know that typically, Steve, you wouldn't come in here with 10 minutes left on this auction and put in a bid of whatever and let it sit. I know that's probably not the optimal style, is it?
Yeah, no, I think that based on what we saw, there's even a chance that no one tries to outbid you. But as you can see, you got the top bid by legitimately placing your bid. So there's probably going to be a rebuttal of some kind. If there's going to be, you're going to be outbid immediately. But if that's your ceiling, that's your ceiling. In this case, it actually worked out for you.
It's interesting to see what that rated rookie logo actually does for the card here. Is based on risk. And you do have, to this card's credit, the no helmet effect. But this card's ceiling isn't higher than that select, but the floor is obviously higher because this one's selling for on average $40 to $50, whereas that the Space Select is selling for $30, even $18. What we saw there as an ultimate low. So I'm seeing another auction here on Kyler Murray's at 29 and going to keep him up. I'm like, okay, yeah, man, if I can get that one for around $35 to $40, like, yeah, I'm sitting really good, like immediate opportunity. Cause I'm looking at so if I just filter here by buy it now, I'm like, whoa, dude, someone paid $70 on September 28th for a buy it now. What about Saturday, September 24th, $90 for a buy it now? So that's the benefit to me of having my card, buying it in auction lower than what I can then sell it for in a buy it now almost immediately based on a good performance this weekend in Seattle, and somebody goes on here and Kyler Murray and buys the Kyler Murray for $75.80 because it's a lower supply, and it's sitting there. It's ready to go. There's no waiting for an auction to end. You can just buy it right now. That's kind of the instant gratification effect.
Andy, what's the pop on the optic rated rookie versus the Donruss?
Oh, dude,
4,700 seems high, but for those of you that collect across other sports, for a modern card, it's actually not that high. But I'm curious in comparison to the optic, because I feel like the optics were just very off center, and there was probably it's probably quite a bit harder to get a 10 on those.
And it's just a more rare card, dude. Like I look at this and so you saw the pop of the base Donruss at 4,700. You saw the pop of the base Prism at 2,700. Then you come in here to the optic and you actually see a pop of this at 296, dude. And the pop of the PSA 9 is only 1,200 and the 8, 124. So it's like, that's not just yes, you're right. There is a lower gem rate on 2019 optic because of centering issues and surface issues, I'm sure. But that's just also more rare. Like I can look at, and just based on my experience, look and see that 2018 and 2019 optic is considerably more rare than the Prism. Like they just didn't print nearly as much of it. And I think that, and when I go to tcdb.com or tradingcarddatabase.com, I can also see that there's fewer parallels, fewer variations. So that kind of tells me that Panini was thinking, oh, this isn't one of our flagship sets. It's Prism. And they put a lot of their focus into Prism. And of course, Optic was a good set. It just wasn't a flagship set like it is today. Like they really ramped it up in terms of the number of parallels and inserts and availability compared to where it was in 2018, 2019.
What's the 1 year on that one? I'm curious.
So 1 year is a total of 66 sales, and you can see the high there of 400 back at October 19th. And if this went back a little bit further, I would actually tell you that this was a little bit higher right at the beginning of the season, before the Cardinals last year. They started off really hot. I think you remember, obviously, and through the first 3 weeks, like Kyler Murray was being touted as an MVP candidate, and then they went on. They did lose a couple games, so it wasn't like he wasn't perfect anymore. And he you could see he fell off a little bit here, and then he continued to fall off as he struggled. He got injured. Actually, that's when he got injured, hurt his ankle, missed some games. So you can see that dip there, and then the flame out in the playoffs. There was a little spike there. It was like, no. And so it's kind of been around that price ever since. And $100 for this card, or look at that. Look at the difference between the buy it now and the auction. 105 in the buy it now, 60 in the auction Sunday. Someone got him a good deal Sunday night for 60 in the auction. And man, that's not too much higher than the base Donruss. That's lower than the Prism with a fraction of the population.
Yeah, I mean, that's, to me, a no-brainer. So, I mean, if I did load up towards the end of the year last year on a bunch of those Optic PSA 9s, I think maybe I got like 5 or 6 of them. That's just like a good buy. He's going to be their starting quarterback for quite a while. So even if you don't make your move right now, you hope the guy figures it out. And they have great wide receivers, so you'd think it's only a matter of time until they put a good stretch together.
I like stuff like this right here too, Steve. I know that it's not going to get as much money as what the actual like autograph from the manufacturer, but I think it's still really cool because it's been authenticated from a reputable grading company to say, yes, this is an authentic Kyler Murray signature. I think it's cool because this card actually has a story to me. Like I'd almost like, I know that this guy probably didn't get it signed. I think it would be cool if I knew who actually got the card signed by Kyler, and like it's got a story to me. Like, somebody went to an event or a training camp practice or a game somehow, some way, got Kyler to sign the card for him and then got it graded. It looks like to be in good condition too. And this may go pretty low. So I think these are liquid. They are desirable, right? I mean, I think everybody would agree on that. They just don't.
There's a pretty good segment of the hobby as well that, again, we're talking about an on-card auto, which that is, and you're talking about the fact that there's not probably very many of those like authenticated autos of that card specifically, or just in general. Everything is a sticker auto or whatever case is. So that seems like a really good buy on that one.
Yeah, it does. It sure does. Origins numbered out of 49 here before we move on. BGS 9.5 on the surface, 9.5 on the centering, 10 on the auto. Another really nice card here for the scarcity and what it's currently at in auction. Steve, what would you put your max bid on this one if you were getting into it? I mean, this is.
I mean, that's the kind of card that in an ideal situation could probably get you $500-600. So I think that if you can steal it up for under $250, it's a great buy.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. That's kind of what I was thinking too. This is a nice one to kind of get in on if you've got a couple $100 disposable. You're looking to get in on some Kyler. Otherwise, if you're going base, I would try and scrounge up $50-60 and snipe you a PSA 10. Like, dude, I love lasers. I'm a sucker for lasers, X-fractors. I know you are too, Steve. And check out One more before we move on from Kyler, just because he is so undervalued right. There's a lot of opportunity, man. I'm seeing gold. Well, not gold. I guess you consider this what, orange laser?
That's a lot of watchers, Andy.
Or just laser?
But
Oh,
you know what, though?
49 watchers, PSA 10. So I'm expecting this one to shoot up, even though it ends past midnight, 12:32 a.m.
No, that's a prime one because out of the 49 watchers, there might be, maybe 4 or 5 still awake at that time betting against you. So it will go for quite a bit more than that, but still probably be below value because it's ending at 1 a.m.
Yeah, very few transactions. You could see basically the way I've got this sorted here for Kyler on the keep a map is by which ones have sold the most in the past 30 days. So I'm still scrolling and I still have not found. There we go. Here's the laser. All right. So the last one was an auction Thursday, September 15th for $265. So what was your max bid on this one, Steve, or did you give one?
Yeah, we didn't cover that, but the thing is that they tend to go for less than the silvers.
And 20, yeah, I would agree with that.
I don't remember what it was at, but maybe like 165, 170.
25 sales in the last year, and that one August 28th went for 625. So look at the dip after the season actually started here. 310, 300 buy it now, 625, man. That was a buy it now, man. It's the power. I love buy it now. It's 450 in a buy it now.
In the morning, Andy. How many beers in was that guy when he bought?
Yeah, 316 in the morning. Buy it now for 625. Let it rip, man. That's the beauty of having your card as a buy it now. You never know when someone wants to just press that button, man.
But hey, look, there's a 450 one right there. I mean, so that's within the realm. But yeah, no, you're right. The a card that's already graded too. That takes the guesswork out. People don't have to send it in and hypothesize if they'll get a 10 or not. The 10 is, unfortunately, in the resale market, always going to get the most eyes on it, the highest flip value.
So I would say like this one's at 65 now. I can't imagine it going up to 270, but if you could get it for anything really under $300, like you're sitting in a really good spot. Like that could be another really nice snipe right there. And let's see what Rage said here. Rage said, check out the Illusion Sapphire Trophy Collection. They're beautiful and sneaky on price. Interesting. Yeah, I've seen those before.
The thing about Kyler cards too, and we covered this with like Lamar Jackson's and a few other guys, Tua, they're lucky enough to have a uniform color that has tons of parallels. Like there's tons of red, so you can find color match stuff really easily.
Nice pickup here from Bud Burns on Olave XRC 57. Love me some Chris Olave. Yeah, another guy that left with the concussion protocol, man. The concussion protocol is just knocking players out, dude. Listen to this, right? So Tua was already, and this is what started this whole thing, was the controversial back-to-back Tua concussions that caused him to lock up and go to the hospital and that whole thing. And he's still questionable. Like, we don't know if he's going to start. Skylar Thompson held his head above water. And we said last week on this show, we said, stash some Skylar Thompson in your, if you want, like, this is not a bad play. And it actually worked out. So I was like, man, I wonder if anybody took our advice there, but it worked out this past weekend for Skylar and Bailey Zappi, like he said. So the rookie quarterbacks, and we told people to sell Kenny Pickett. So didn't, like, of course it was against a very difficult defense, but Teddy Bridgewater, concussion, Denzel Ward, concussion protocol or symptoms from it. Pittsburgh Steelers, Levi Wallace, Pittsburgh Steelers tight end Pat Freiermuth, Detroit Lions, Savion Smith, corner, Vikings corner, Caleb Evans, Colts running back Nyheim Hines. I'm like, never remember this many guys going limp from taking some fairly normal hits, Steve. And we saw Hines clearly go limp. Olave went to sleep in the end zone after actually getting that touchdown. And Tua, what Tua locked up and had to go to the hospital and stuff. And it's pretty wild, man, if you ask me.
Yeah, I made that same comment in the Discord during the Colts game. I don't remember guys ever just getting turned into jello on seemingly regular tackles as often as we've seen them. And now that this rule's implemented, not just for collecting, but I think for fantasy purposes, you got to be a little bit worried that, a guy might just get shaken up, and out of the new rule, they may hold him out for the rest of the game. So it's a little bit to be concerned about in that aspect, but it's so new. I guess we'll see, kind of how it plays out over the rest of the year.
So I gotta love the comment section over here is lit. Yeah, the Panthers. Hey, what's going on? Blaine is our Panthers fan in the house. We didn't even talk about the Panthers. So finally, the Matt Rule experiment in Carolina is over. And I do want to talk about, I'm starring your comments. So if you have these comments, so I like Ryan McVan's comment. I'm starring this comment here, and we're gonna go through them. Of course, the super chat is open. You can force my hand posting up a comment anytime with a super chat. But I do want to talk about the Panthers because this is a big storyline because Matt Rule experiment over, Steve. Like, thank God. But is it going to get any better for the Panthers in the immediate future, Steve?
Probably not.
Probably not. No.
No, I mean, PJ Walker's starting this week. I hate to say it, but he'll probably be worse than what they've had out there the past couple weeks. So the defense is going to have to carry. They're going to have to lean on the run, and the defense is going to have to show up for them to have a chance to win any game. So I mean that there may be a fire sale going on. We talked about that before the show, and they may be clearing house and just starting all over again. What do you think?
I think that's a very good possibility, man. You fire Matt Rule, you're now out of any type of decent starting quarterback. PJ Walker was absolutely terrible last year, and I mean, just terrible, dude, just terrible. And when he did play, but if you go back to 2021, 2020, just bad, man, so bad. I mean, we're talking 21% completion percentage last year. On it's just laughable bad stuff. I mean, the amount of interceptions, almost throwing an interception in every single game he played. Going back to 2020, he had multiple games with multiple interceptions, with about a 30 to 40% completion percentage. I mean, that's ugly. So I think you could see a situation where they try and just go ahead and load up for next year's draft capital. And maybe you go ahead and you trade Christian McCaffrey while he's in his peak still, before he definitely goes over that age apex, gets injured again. You trade Christian McCaffrey at his peak. You could even potentially trade DJ Moore. I mean, he's just being wasted away here in Carolina. Man, that would be ideal for us. I think we would be super happy, not Blaine, because he's a Panthers fan. You don't want to see all his guys get traded away. But I think if Christian McCaffrey gets traded, like, could you imagine? I mean, the landing spots that he could go to would be very enticing. Yeah,
Wait for it. It could happen. I mean, Miles Sanders had a good game 2 weeks ago, but they wouldn't have to rely on four guys rotating to carry the run game. Could you imagine having to guard either Jalen Hurts or Christian McCaffrey in the backfield at any given time? I mean, that would be a nightmare. That would be Madden matchup caliber frustration for defenses.
It really would. It really would. And it's something that I would love to see. I mean, his cards are going for so cheap right now too. Is another guy that I kind of want to just get some exposure to, like not a crazy amount, because he is, now 27 years old, and he's kind of reaching that point in his career where he's had a few injuries, and he's definitely, as a running back, on the back end of his career. But I mean, in a good situation, he could be really good again. He's actually not even. I take that back. He's 26.3. So I'll still give him a solid another season. After this, before I really say, okay, he's probably crested. It's really 1,500 carries is what the analytics say that. And if you look at how much he's been injured the past 3 years, he's barely had 250 carries in the past 3 years. And before that, he's taken a healthy amount of carries, but he's also very active in the receiving game with over 100 receptions in 2018, 2019. So I want to see what Kyler's current, not Kyler, but Christian McCaffrey, and then also DJ Moore. Like DJ Moore is even younger. He's such a good receiver, and he's just being so badly wasted away this year in Carolina. I mean, he's even a year younger than Christian McCaffrey. And so both of these guys, I think it makes sense to buy the dip on them right now. But look how much they're down. Christian McCaffrey down 25%, getting base Donruss PSA 10 for 35, base Optic PSA 10 for 36, base Prism PSA 10, silver out of the box for 75. I mean, I'm just sure you can find so many really good deals on them right now.
I mean, just a trade to a contender would boost their value up a lot. So something to keep in mind. I mean, those guys are just really talented players that are being hindered by just awful team play. I think it'd be interesting. I mean, we're looking at, my team's the Bears. We're going through a rebuild. It's pretty ugly. It's hard to watch, but we don't really have guys to trade away to build up. We traded our picks for our current quarterback, but these guys could maybe fetch some draft capital for the guys they have and see where they go.
Yeah. And some of these guys, we've talked about tonight, I think you're pretty familiar with the format of the show. But of course, if you're just tuning in, we're not looking at guys that are available out on your waiver wires in most of your fantasy leagues. They're probably on your roster. But we're looking at guys that stock has dipped significantly. And what's interesting is because there's so much variance in football cards between sets, specific card, the condition, the whole 9 yards, you have opportunity. And then it's like, okay, what are the quality of the photographs? What type of listing was it sold in? Where did the transaction take place? So you have all that factored in as well. There's just so much variance there that you can easily capitalize on a guy like Christian McCaffrey right now or DJ Moore.
I think there's a lesson to be learned, a hobby lesson, if you will. There was one McCaffrey based Donruss that you had moused over that was at 99 cents with no bids. But I don't think it was a bad price. And here's a lesson to be learned. It's up a few more listings. Here's the thing is, as a seller, right, you get paid based on what the card sells for. Well, you're cutting into your profit by that $4 shipping being there. The card is not going to sell for more than $20, like 0% chance. You should be offering eBay standard shipping, which is like around $1. And it'll increase your odds of not only selling the card, but you getting $3 to $5 or whatever it's going for currently, versus maybe getting 99 cents for it if it even sells. So that's just for you guys aren't using the eBay standard shipping. Lesson learned on that one. You'll put more money in your pocket and you'll sell more cards that way.
Yeah, and along that lines, like if you really want to sell the card, start it at 99 cents. Don't start at 75 because DJ Moore's stock is way down. So nobody's going to pay 75 for that card right now. But if you really want to sell it, you start it for 99 cents and see what that true market value gives you. Of course, if you got the right player and the right card and you start at 99 cents, now you're going to draw in all those bidders and create that little bidding war right there.
That $10 one's another kind of good example. Now it should be, the shipping is appropriate because you're shipping a slab. You're not going to send that in a plain white envelope. but it looks like the initial bid was at $10. And I hate to say it, but you do kind of handicap yourself when you don't start an auction lower, because you turn people away. You turn eyes away from it. When you have a listing for a card like that that's starting at $1, you're going to get tons of watchers, and you'll have more people willing to bid for the card as time winds down. So I'm actually curious to see what that one goes for, the one that's at $10. But I know it seems like a Hail Mary, but starting your auctions at $1 is realistically the right way to do it.
All right, let's see. Let me come over here to the stream and answer some questions for you guys. See, Bud Burns. Romeo Dobbs, man. Romeo Dobbs, Green Bay Packers, gold standard selling too high right now and will drop once the other newer. So let's check out Romeo Dobbs gold standard, because I've got a pretty good idea of where the other rookies from gold standard are valued at, and I'm interested to see what the latest Romeo Dobbs transactions are for gold standard. Steve, watching the game in London, Packers struggled to throw the ball against the New York Giants, and before that, though, Romeo Dobbs had him a nice little game the week before that. I like Romeo Dobbs. He's definitely looking a lot better than Christian Watson. He's definitely getting opportunities over Christian Watson. Ever since Christian Watson dropped that wide open pass in the first game, I don't know if that's like behind the scenes agenda from Rodgers to scheme Dobbs in more. He likes Dobbs better, but it's definitely still Alan Lazard and Randall Cobb. Like, those are two big targets of Rodgers, and Dobbs hasn't put up a whole lot. He's still getting a lot of snap share, though. I'd say that, like 85% snap share against the Giants, 5 targets, 1 red zone, 95% snap share against New England, 89% snap share against Tampa. I like to see that. And I'm liking this 5 to 8 targets per game with at least 1 in the red zone in each game. So that's promising, man. We could see some more really big games from Dobbs.
I think that his stuff might be a little overpriced at the moment. I mean, here's the thing: is we've kind of become more accustomed to guys coming into the league with Justin Jefferson type guys and performing right away, which is maybe going to be a little bit more normal going forward. Guys that are league ready at the receiver position, but he's shown flashes of being good. But we do have to remember that that's not every guy's just going to walk in there and be a superstar immediately, but he's definitely got potential. He's playing on Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers, so there's a couple things you got to like with that. But I will say, yeah, definitely there will be a little bit of a dip on sets as the new stuff comes out. That's just the way it is.
So I've currently got Dobbs as my number 3 most hyped rookie wide receiver. He's behind Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave. And but I've got him so I've got him right ahead now, Jahan Dotson, who missed this past week with an injury. So he's ahead of him. Jameson Williams is right there, but he hasn't played a single game yet. But he's so electric that people are already betting on him. Drake London right behind him, and then George Pickens. And then guys like Wan'Dale Robinson, Christian Watson, Treylon Burks has fallen all the way down. Hey, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Might want to buy some of that guy's cards because he was on the up and up. So let me compare, for example, let's just compare Romeo Dobbs to Garrett Wilson. And I think that'll give you a really good idea of kind of where those cards are at, Steve, wouldn't you say? Similar markets. I mean,
yeah.
Definitely a better quarterback scenario for Dobbs.
Yeah, no, I think that, obviously when the new sets come out, the price volatility is kind of all over the place. But I'd be willing to bet that those guys are going for a similar price tier. I think if you can get Olave's for the same prices you can get the Dobbs rookies for, that, I would lean on the Olave's more. He's already carved out the alpha role on that team, and once Winston's healthy, I think that his stock goes even higher, honestly.
There's a couple more guys I forgot to mention. They had lower draft capital, but Khalil Shakir. Hey, we told you guys last week, Steve, did we not say this is a good time to buy the dip on Gabe Davis. I know I said it in my main eBay targets video last week. I said, wide receivers, buy the dip on Gabe Davis. And I said, get Khalil Shakir as a contingency plan. And what happened is Khalil Shakir found the end zone, had a nice little game filling in for Isaiah McKenzie and Crowder. And Gabe Davis had him a Randy Moss type of game with those big bombs from Josh Allen, which were just beautiful to watch. I had Gabe Davis everywhere on my daily fantasy rosters on DraftKings on Sunday. So I ended up I didn't win any of the big tournaments, but I ended up making like $40. It had me a good time on Sunday in that sense. So I do agree with you. I'm going to compare Dobbs here to Olave and kind of see what we got there.
Just think, Andy, if the Bills actually had to play the second half, what could have happened?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I know
man.
we're talking about Derek's favorite wide receiver.
It sure is, man. It sure is. So let's see here. What do we got? So there's 29 bids on the gold standard. That's very nice card out of 5. Let's go look at the solds. A lot of breaks happening. Looks like some breaks happen. Okay, here we should get a good idea. Out of 49, $55 with the sticker auto. Just that gold does look really good with Olave. So I'm not sure if this is a good comparison here, Steve, because he looks really good on a gold card. It goes really well with Saints colors.
I agree.
So the 1 out of 49, I'm looking here at a $56 transaction. Let's see if we can find a similar one like that out of 190. Wow. So yeah, Dobbs is still pretty expensive, man. There's the 1 out of 49. That's interesting because that one ended for 65, where this 1 out of 199 ended for 51. So yeah, I think Dobbs he's pretty expensive, man. He's pretty expensive. I would kind of wait. I think I would wait there unless he's got a lot of personal collection value to you.
Yeah, I think that he's just like I said, if you can get Olave for around the same price, or in this case less, I mean that's the better buy in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely, 100% agreed, sir.
And I agree with the statement that the gold standard is essentially like a color match with the Saints uniform.
Very nice, Ryan. Good pickup there. Scuba Steve, man, what's going on, man? Posted his first ever card on eBay at Downtown Manning. 0 views since Sunday. Any recommendation? How did you post it? Was it a buy it now? Post the name of your eBay store in the chat. We'll pull it up. Yeah, it could be because you're a new seller. You have no feedback, so you're very low in the eBay algorithm. So think about eBay's algorithm is just like a social media platform, like YouTube, like Instagram, Twitter. If you don't have any followers, you don't have any prior reputation on there. You got to work your way up, and your price may not be good. Your photos may not be optimal. So there's a lot of is an auction too. So did you start it off with a 99-cent auction? There's a lot of interesting variables there that I would want to find out.
You know that there's definitely a correlation between a new seller and B, a very high-end card being listed by a new seller. And a lot of times people will look at that and be a little bit cautious that it could be potentially not real. Something to think about, but you'll get some hits on it.
Very true. All right. So Jay Ewan said, what's your thoughts on Tua bought 3 prism card? I think we touched on them. But I love the Jalen Hurts prisms. The Tua prisms are kind of up in the air right now. I mean, the guy apparently is going to be okay in terms of getting back on the field, but how long is that going to last, man? Definitely really nervous about Tua's future career. I've mentioned this before. You talked about it, Steve. The ease of getting injured like that in terms of concussions is a very scary thing, something that could seriously shorten his career big time. You know, they got the Vikings, Steelers, Lions, Bears, Browns coming up. They don't have a bye week till week 11.
I still maintain that I think Tua is just being held out for optics, especially with all the stink they made about the whole Tua rule and everything. I think he comes back. I think they're just fine, honestly. You got to remember how they looked against the Bills, a team that just went ape on the Steelers. You know, if people are selling low on him, it presents a really good opportunity. I've seen people drop him in fantasy leagues. I mean, he's injury list eligible. You should go get him and just stash him, honestly. I wanted to touch on a gentleman's question in the chat. He mentioned it a few times about Jalen Hurts. I'm personally still holding my Hurts because I do agree that I think that they could potentially continue running the table for another month or two. So, and even if they lose a couple games in between, they'll be maintaining a first place standing for quite a while. So I'm still holding my Hurts for a while.
Yeah, I am as well. I've got my price. I've gotten some offers, and I'm just not even entertaining the offers on my Optic Hollow. I have a couple base Prism. I've got some more base Donruss, some base Field Level. So nothing super rare. My Optic Hollow, I say, is the nicest thing. But I've got that 150 cards currently selling for round average on 75. I've seen some $100 transactions. And I'm just like kind of holding firm on it at this point. I think that's what you do with Hurts. I mean, they're just so good top to bottom. The Cowboys this Sunday night is a big test. I mean, big test for him, Steve. Cowboys this Sunday night with the Cowboys defense being so good. But the thing is, they've got so many different weapons and they're so versatile. Like, right, if Micah Parsons is bringing pressure on the outside, Hurts is running right up the middle, you know? And they have so many receiving weapons that it's going to be dangerous. So it's really going to come down to, can the Eagles defense stop Tony Pollard? Yes, you know, I got to shout out Tony Pollard there. So that'll be a big component. Cooper Rush has been a pretty good game manager. You kind of almost rather have Dak Prescott back in this game, making some of those decisions that he was making at the beginning of the year would be good for the Eagles defense. But even then, like, the Eagles secondary is so good. So as long as they avoid injuries, I see them beating the Cowboys. Then they beat the Steelers. Then they beat the Texans. Then they beat the Commanders. Then they beat the Colts. Another challenging matchup here, November 27th against the Packers. But by that time, they'll be 10-0. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, hold those Jalen Hurts cards. The Tua stock is way down, though. Look at how far the Tua stock has fallen from the injury. Buy it now 120. You know, the earlier before he got injured, man, 125, 100. So they were getting up there, man, at 115, 120, 130, and now they're all the way down, man. They got up to 120 and now they're down to 71 in auction just a couple days ago. That would have been Monday night. That would have Sunday night. Sunday night. Somebody went for the Sunday night auctions. DC Sports, so consignment. Somebody put it up in consignment. Would have been bad time to put Tua card up in consignment, but they did it. Sold them for 71.
Yeah, it seems like a good buy still for Tua and Hurts. And here's the thing is, you know, we talk about expectation of success will drive card spikes. When Andy and I were talking about buy Tua, buy Hurts last year, there was a lot of blowback, but those same people are buying Tua and buying Hurts right now. So just remember that those same people will be buying him when he starts playing well again, and his card ceiling will be reset to even higher than what it was, the first couple games.
Yeah, that's the other great thing about it. It will be reset, man. I've got him on top. I've got him on top of the hype index list from 2020 quarterbacks right now. He's got an 85.42 hype index score, and Herbert's got a 46.6. That's how far behind Herbert is now at this point in terms of, even though people are obviously still buying Herbert, but in terms of exceeding expectations and winning their games, Herbert or Jalen Hurts is easily leading the pack. Herbert, Tua, then Joe Burrow, and then you got some other guys who are backups like Jordan Love and Tyler Huntley. So it's pretty consolidated focus, at least on those four guys, right? And so it gives you some really good ammunition to compare them against each other. So that's why I always have like in this app, I just always have a 2020 QB Prism PSA 10 compare chart just up, ready to go, so I can kind of get a good idea. And you could even, I can just exit out Jordan Love there, so I can just look at the four lines of these guys, and you can see the dip. You can see where Tua and Jalen Hurts were neck and neck there throughout September. They're both winning games, and then Tua gets the whole concussion saga, and the Miami Dolphins lose, and now you have this big difference. But I'm still looking at Jalen Hurts as being $30 cheaper than Burrow, and this has got to be verified. This Justin Herbert transaction at $350.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that he seems to shot up out of nowhere.
I mean, this is the thing with this guy, Justin Herbert, and the market out there in LA, and it's just how aggressive they play. And he is more of a true passing style quarterback, and his passing style is pretty unique. But yeah, I mean, this is oh, look, okay, that's what caused the spike. It was an autograph card, so I would just come in here and report this and update the sale, and it'll take a few hours for it to be reflected, but it'll remove that card out of here, out of the trend. But I do see one for $259.99. Once again, Steve, I buy it now, dude. Buy it now, man. Buy it now for $259, $301. You're seeing some pretty wild variance here in the values of Herbert's PSA 10 Prism. Look at that $100 one. That's another good point, Steve. And I don't know if you do this, but if you are looking buy it now, when you do buy it now, the first thing I do is I go to, when I'm not in sold, I'll go to buy it now. And I don't know why it's not doing it here in this one. Let me go to a different screen.
Oh, sorting from low to high.
Well, I do buy it now and then do newly listed. Why is it just kind of, it's, let me zoom out a little bit.
Oh, because there's no exact matches for some.
Oh, I got you. Let me go back here to 2019, or let's just do 2020 Jalen Hurts, because the reason why I do it, right, because people have these cards saved as searches. So if you do best match, you don't know what's going to pop up, right? It's going to be one that's got a lot of views, the one that's being pumped up in the algorithm, got a very well-known seller here. Actually, they're named the Hype Breakers. That's pretty cool. Multiple, right? They sold a bunch of these already. 29 watchers, free shipping, great picture with the green background. But this card, if I were to look at this, it's probably been listed for a while. It's probably, I don't think it tells you because it's not my listing. But if I were to come in here and go newly listed, and now I can see what people just put up. And so this person just put this card up tonight. You know what I'm saying? This person just put this card up like this evening, and that's actually not a bad deal right there. And I found a lot of really good deals in buy it now doing it this way, looking at newly listed, because you never know when someone has held a card for a while or they don't really know what a card should be worth, and they're putting it up in a buy it now, and it's going to sell quick, So if you look at newly listed, sometimes you can find you some good deals.
We talked about the optic negative, prism negative earlier. Another card that has a big disparity from player to player is those clearly rated rookies. I think what was that? Hurts was listed for $12 or something like that. The one you just
the clearly Donruss. You like the
if you look at what the Burrow and the Herberts go for, it's $40, $50.
Clearly Donruss rated rookie Jalen, yeah, 7. And it's a new listing, so we might be able to find one that sold 2020 clearly Donruss. Let's just do Joe Burrow right on top. $25 last one, 2 watchers. Let's see what that one sold for recently.
$13. Whoa. I got news for you guys. I mean, yeah, it was the playoffs last year, but I moved a bunch of those for $40 to $50 last year.
Well, in the playoffs time period.
But we're talking about holding Hurts because they're going to go to the playoffs. So I mean, if you can grab those for the, if $7 is the ceiling, if you can find them for $7 or below, that's a no-brainer.
Totally. I think that's a great entry level. And then you've got this. Like, look at this. So this is a new listing. This card is going to sell quick. This is a buy it now here. Prism PSA 10, currently $129.77, 100% positive feedback. But this guy's only got 477, so he's maybe not getting pumped up in the algorithm. If I were to just do best match and leave it at the standard best match. And so here you have a guy that just posted this card up probably to yesterday, and it's at value. If you look at the Keep 'em, if you look at the Keep 'em app for Jalen Hurts, this card is at very good value. I mean, we already looked at it as being a trend of 180 for Joe Burrow, a trend of 300 and for Justin Herbert, or at least 250. I would say about 250 on average. And here you've got a trend, a 159.95 and a buy it now on Sunday at 1:08 a.m. beer time, man.
So let's do the old compare. Let's do the old compare again. You got a pop of 1,600 on that card. What about the optic now? Where is that sitting?
On the 2020?
Yeah.
Let's see. 367.
See?
Way lower. 262. So it's got about a 60% gem rate too. That's pretty good. 60% gem rate there compared to the Prism, 1,600 on the 10.
I mean,
wow, 3,000 on the 9, man. So the Prism has a much higher chance of getting a 9 than a 10.
I think if you're looking for a little bit of a longer play, like the optic, people get the Prism recognition, optic maybe closing the gap at some point, but if you can get the optic for quite a bit less and it's a much more scarce card, I think that's a no-brainer. I think this guy priced this card such that he was going to sell it like within a few hours of listing it. He could have listed it for quite a bit more and probably still sold it, but I think his intent was to sell it immediately.
Let's see if he takes 115. Send. I can't actually buy the card, then I would show you guys all my personal information and stuff. Not that I don't trust any random YouTube community that I've never met, but no, you guys are all good people. But I'm not gonna share my credit card information with you.
I haven't looked in a while, but I think I have 2 of the mosaic green PSA 10s of Hurts.
Ooh, nice.
For a while, so yeah, I can't wait to move those because I mean I got those well before the true Hurts believers showed up, so I got them quite cheap last year.
Nice. Good luck, Matthew. Good luck. Honey Nut. What do I do if a buyer says item was not delivered to him, but the tracking says it was? I've told him to wait a couple days and it still hasn't shown up. Oh man, I've had this happen to me a couple times. I think you have, and really where I've had this happen to me is on plain white envelope, and which is not bad. I've only had it happen on a couple plain white envelope transactions out of probably 100, or something close to that. So it's not terrible, but I ended up having to give him a refund,
Yeah, I haven't dealt with that personally. I have had a few instances where I ordered let's say 10 cards and there was one missing. I did have to open a case with eBay. I mean, eBay's customer service is typically pretty good. I think you guys will both be assumingly taken care of, most likely.
Yeah, Ryan said, "Is Olave okay?" Yeah, concussion protocol. He's all right. He's in just he got put to sleep in the end zone, man. Yeah, Dalvin did finally show up this past week against the Bears.
I know another guy. I know I got some flack for recommending, but I mean, if you bought any Daniel Jones rookies, I mean, 4-1.
Game manager Danny Dimes. It's amazing what happens whenever he's not expected to put the team on his shoulders. You got a healthy Saquon Barkley. You know what's interesting there? We should do a compare between Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. I bet you on average Saquon Barkley's Prism or rookie cards of comparable scarcity sell for more than Daniel Jones.
Do we have a noticeable upward trend of Daniel Jones rookies over the last 4 weeks?
I would say probably not. I don't personally think that he's done enough outside of leading the team to a win, but I'm wrong, Steve. You're right, man. It's nothing crazy, but
35%, 24%, 27%, 54%.
25% up on his Prism PSA 10, 35 on the Select, 25 on the Field Level Silver. Pretty interesting, man. Over the past month, 14 sales. The best buy it now was $100. Auction 67. Daniel Jones is on the rise. Gonna have to start comparing him to Kyler Murray pretty soon, being a 2019 rookie here.
I mean, part of me wants to see this experiment go a step further and see them get DJ Moore, but there's just this paradigm that comes with being a receiver on the Giants where you're hurt every week. So I don't want that for him, but he's taken $15. Wow.
Yeah, there's no love for his optic PSA 10 apparently, man. They're going for $15 and $20 in auction. Well, that was last Wednesday, so I'm not sure. But once again, Steve, your pop of $260, and the Giants are devoid of pass catchers. They really need somebody. Look at the pop of his Prism. The same thing, man. 2,600. So massive difference, but also just a clear demand difference, I guess, between the optic. Well, maybe it's because, oh no, he's got the rated rookie logo at the bottom left. I was thinking maybe it's that. Just
what about that laser one? Down a couple.
This one?
Down 21. But see, I think the interesting thing about that is that
fluctuates.
There's just not many sales. It's not.
Yeah,
it's hard to get
5 sales in the past month. It's only got a pop of 198. So yeah, it's going to fluctuate depending on, you end this on a Tuesday at 9:18 a.m. It's going to go undervalued compared to a Thursday night at 10:30, 110 almost, versus a Tuesday morning at 9:18, 61. So another prime example of when to not end an auction and when to end an auction. And then, like I said, Monday, you have such a high amount of auctions ending. It's probably not ideal for you to end one there either, but DC Sports 87 is a massive consignment, and that's when they're going to end a lot of your auctions. So kind of keep that in mind, where this card could sell and buy it now for 100, or if you do your auction right, time it the ending right, 110. So yeah, just another guy to look out for. Auctions ending at atypical times. He's on the up and up, man. He's on the up and up. I say I've become a Brian Dable fan. I like that guy, dude.
I mean, if you bought his stuff a couple weeks ago, you've doubled your money at least. So
yeah. And I was like, dude, at the beginning of the season, shout out to, oh man, I can't think of his name. I sold all my Daniel Jones cards, so I'm like, yeah, dude, I just want to break even. I was literally selling him, and I think I have one left, but I was selling him base Prism optics. I had like a bunch of PSA 9s, and I sold them to him in a lot for like $30 or $40. And now I'm like, yeah, I could have made a lot more off of that.
Yeah, I know I got a couple, I think select 9s. I don't remember which variation or whatever, but I think I got them last year when they were like possibly even cheaper than right now. So yeah, I mean, there's a time and place for just about everybody. And I mean, he's clearly better than he was last year. A lot of that is the coaching, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter if it's the team that made him better or the coach that made him better. If he's not throwing interceptions and fumbling and, just overall sucking, like his value's going to go up. He plays on the Giants,
Yeah, for sure. So Scatter, I don't know. We were just talking about this kind of thing, but definitely the best if you're ending an auction Thursday night, Sunday night. Those are great times. Want to avoid Monday night. So those are the best times, especially if you're right on that player and that player breaks out, that day or just has a good performance and or like if they're a quarterback, their team wins, that kind of thing, that at least meets expectations. A win for a quarterback will counterbalance, 2 picks and, 150 passing yards. Look at some of the game logs from Mac Jones in the past kind of thing, So, that's kind of what we're looking at there. Otherwise, typically just like buy it now is really kind of be your best bet.
Yeah, I noticed that not a lot of consignment companies lately have been ending their auctions on Saturday night. I'm not opposed to it. I do think ending late on a Sunday is a mistake because a lot of people are going back to work the next day. If you're going to end an auction late, do it on a Friday or Saturday.
Yeah, good job, Victor, man. Very nice, Victor. I know Victor got in on the cheap Daniel Jones in the offseason. Our guy Specs Offender over in Australia has been loading up on Daniel Jones and Saquon all offseason, so he's happy about that. This upcoming week, in terms of the schedule, who do the Giants got? It looks like the Giants are playing the Ravens in New York. Current over-under on this game, 44.5. How you feeling about this game, Steve?
I don't know. Ravens looked a little flat against Cincy. So I think that I wouldn't expect a blowout. The Giants have managed to keep a lot of their games close. Yeah, they barely beat the Bears, but I think they'll game plan accordingly. And I think that ultimately Ravens win the game, but maybe not by as much as people think.
Yeah, it's going to be close. I mean, the Giants have really just been – the ball has been just kind of bouncing their way, I guess you could say. Like, they haven't been playing great on defense. They currently rank number 25th by Football Outsiders, so not great, but their rushing defense, DVOA 21st, pass defense, DVOA 24th, so it's not great. Saquon's obviously been playing really good. So in terms of offense, Saquon is holding them together. They currently rank 12th in total overall offensive DVOA, but a lot of that is because they rank 6th in rushing offense production. So that's really good, man. And so that's kind of the bright spot there is Saquon, and he's been putting that team on his back, man, more or less, and haven't been asking a whole lot from Daniel Jones. He's been taking good care of the ball and kind of making plays when he's needed to and just getting the ball to whether it's Daniel Bellinger or Darius Slayton, or whether he had Sterling Shepard there at the beginning of the season. Now he's lost him. You still haven't seen Kadarius Toney at all. I don't know. Where's our guy Jonathan Taylor Card's shot? Because I don't think Kadarius Toney's caught a single ball this year. And I know DJ Moore hasn't done a lot either with one of the worst quarterbacks in this offenses, but Kadarius Toney's only caught 2 balls and doesn't even have a single receiving yard, 0 receive. Actually, I don't even know how you do this, but Kadarius Toney has -5 air yards so far this year.
Yeah, that's not very impressive. He must be in the doghouse. I know they said didn't he have like a hamstring injury or something, but I think it's a little bit more than that.
Got one of our lovely sex bots popping up in the chat tonight. Everybody leave a tip for the. Oh man, the late stick coming in for the laughs. Tom Bullard, I'm sure today has been a fun mail day for Tom Bullard because he's a big Buffalo Bills fan. Let's see what he's got here. PSA 9 Prism, light blue die cut out of 199 Saquon, and blue wave out of 199 Gabe Davis. Nice.
Giants, like you said, they're not asking him to do anything crazy, but he does make plays. He's taken off with his legs, which is one of the reasons he was drafted where he was drafted. He can run the ball. He does have good speed. They're winning a little bit more traditionally. They're focusing on the run, possession, turnover ratio, stuff like that. So they're not going up against. You're not playing a traditional team every time you play them. If you're not stopping the run and you're not causing turnovers, they're going to be a hard team to beat. Yeah,
true that. Brian wants to know if my garage is controlled for temperature, humidity. It absolutely is, sir. I live in Florida, man. This is important. This is important. I'm the only person who gets the mail at my house. I'm always to the mailbox. You know how you beat it? You just go in the morning when you hear the trash man coming. Like I routinely will forget to take the trash out on trash day, so I got to get that to the road. And while I'm out there, I hit the mailbox. Or it's like as soon as I see the mail truck coming, I'm like, I'm gonna go check it because there's a chance that there's probably a card package in the mail. Definitely don't want that to sit. And so I'm always the first person there.
Or just, get a top secret PO box.
Yeah, that's probably smart. That's probably smart. Man, we've hit on so many fun topics tonight. The Ryan McVan upcoming schedule for the Dolphins: Minnesota, Pittsburgh, Detroit, Chicago, Cleveland, then a bye. Who's going to eat with all these injuries? Is he just talking about the Dolphins? I know that Tyreek Hill injured, right? Tyreek Hill. Jalen Waddle was already dealing with an injury. Of course, we got the concussion with Tua. Let me check what Tyreek Hill.
While you're pulling that up, Andy, speaking of Dolphins, a guy that I was talking about a little bit before the season was Myles Gaskin. Not a super, super attractive name, but a guy that you can get for like pennies on the dollar. You've seen zero production realistically out of their starting running backs, and Gaskin is efficient in the passing game. He's going to eventually work his way into a sizable role with that team, in my opinion. So something to keep an eye on. Not saying go out and buy him this week, but he's going to work his way into the rotation.
He's trusty. You got to get through Raheem Mostert first, unless he's injured already. I mean, he gets injured pretty easy. He's pretty fragile, but Raheem Mostert has been putting up 4.6 yards per carry, 260 rushing yards. So he's been having a pretty solid run. Now Chase Edmonds has been massively disappointing. Tyreek Hill, Steve, was in a walking boot following Sunday's loss, but Coach Mike McDaniel said it is not serious, not believed to be serious. Mike Florio points out that it may not be serious. It was serious enough for a walking boot. Already dealing with a quad issue, Hill will undoubtedly be highly limited in this week's practice, so expect him to be a game-time decision that's going to be questionable all week. And then you've got, Tua obviously still in concussion protocol. And then let's see what's going on with Jalen Waddle here. Jalen Waddle's good to go. He had a groin, but he made it back last week. So we're gonna expect that Jalen Waddle's still good to go. Skylar Thompson, if his values haven't really gone up, I'd say, stash some Skylar Thompson, man. I kind of like this kid, Skylar Thompson. I know he's a late round draft pick, but he really flashed in the preseason, and like I said, held his head above water, man. 57% completion percentage, was able to put up 166 passing yards. Let's see what the numbers were like. The completion percentages were not good, but still, man, the advanced numbers, but still, I mean, he 5 drop passes, Okay, I think Skylar Thompson, maybe a guy that we could probably stash here. Maybe get some run over the next couple weeks.
Yeah, I think that if you can, bear a little patience till Tua comes back, the window on Skylar Thompson cards will open up quite a bit more. Like right now, you might have a lot of people that are making tentative buys as if he's going to start, the next 3 to 5 games or whatever. But, once it's evident that he's going to be relegated to a backup or third string role, then the door opens up big.
Yeah, I'm looking at like this elite red parallel here, numbered out of 399. It has 9 bids on it. It's ending in a minute. It's currently 1350. Like that card's gonna sell here. Like this one, like I'm not so that's too much, right, Steve? Would you say like $90 for a Bowman U refractor first autographed, or 150? Look at these people trying to get trying to get their cake and eat it too. When you start an auction that high, it's like very rarely going to happen for you.
I will say this: if you're going to sell it at a buy it now price, just list it as a buy it now, because you're better. You have a better chance of selling it as a buy it now than seeing a starting bid at $90. Like it's going to turn a lot of people off.
This is a cool looking card, man. Kind of got like a kaboom look to the background. That's a neat looking card, man. You got some really cool Dolphins colors, serial number to 499, Dolphins practice uniform. That's a pretty interesting card. Already has 21 watchers and 4 bids. So I'm expecting that one.
I like Elite. I think Elite's pretty nice. It doesn't quite hold its value once some of the other stuff comes out. But as far as like eye appeal, like Elite's pretty nice to look at. A lot of it is practice uniform stuff in many cases, but you do have the Pen Pals cards.
Skylar Thompson, though, is a 7th round draft pick. I don't think he's in Score. I don't think he's in Pen Pals either, Steve.
Okay.
So
yeah, probably not.
I don't think he gets any of that stuff. So I think that's why you're going to see these elite cards be pretty popular, still for the time being. For the time being, just because you just don't have many other options, especially not with pro uniform.
Yeah, there was one at the top, the Razzle Dazzle, which is like a case hit. I mean, it's not quite a downtown, but it's it's like a lesser equivalent of.
So we talked about T. Higgins earlier. Are you worried about Jamar Chase at all, Steve?
I mean, I don't have a lot of exposure to him, and I buy more T. Higgins than Jamar Chase, so I'm not that worried. But I think from just a general production standpoint, I would be, because he seems to be completely shut down and look a little more pedestrian. He looked unstoppable last year, and now he looks like above average, maybe. Like that he can make big plays, but they seem to be bottling him up pretty easy. And I don't know if that's just that the line is collapsing and he's not having enough time to get him the ball, or what the case is, but it doesn't look good. If you bought a lot of big stuff of his, obviously there's tons of time for that to turn around, but anytime a guy that good starts playing that bad, obviously you want to be a bit worried.
Definitely concerning for the Bengals as a whole right now. And I talked to Carter about this earlier today. That'll come out on YouTube on Thursday. And a lot of it we do think is coaching decisions by Zach Taylor, them being very predictable. But they're not playing good right now, man. They're ranked 22nd in the NFL in passing offense, DVOA 25th overall. And if I just look at Joe Burrow's number, I mean, well, you saw the way he started the season. They are, I think, throwing the ball. They're throwing the ball at the 9th highest rate right now in the NFL. They're playing slow, though. This is not good. They're playing pretty slow at number 23. So they're running right now an average of 1.94 plays per minute of offensive possessions. That ranks 23rd. That's not good, man. Not good to play slow. He's also not made a lot of money throws, so he's not really throwing the ball down the field. He's thrown a ton of interceptable passes, ranks 4th in interceptable passes and 9th in danger plays, and 12th in pressure throws. So he's not getting protection. Protection rate is bad. Accuracy overall isn't bad, but he's not really throwing the ball down the field. And the deep accuracy is bad. Ranks 24th amongst quarterbacks in deep ball completion. And so they've got to turn it around, man. So, like, really what I'm reading into this is that they've got to turn it around. That's definitely a team that I think are due for some positive regression here.
For a little clarity for Derek, I did not say to avoid Chase, but that I would be concerned if I was holding a bunch of his stuff. Gabe Davis, if you did it right, you already had a bunch of his stuff. His high-end stuff right now is really, really expensive. So if you can get Jamar Chase for cheaper than Gabe Davis, then I would definitely be doing that.
Yeah, I'm looking to take advantage of, the excess supply in product from 2021, like we talked about earlier. Something like this Optic Hollow for $10 on Jamar Chase, perfect example. Give it to me all day when the Justin Jefferson's selling for $50. I've seen these photo variations not be quite as popular with him kneeling, the portrait, style card here going for a little bit less even. I see plenty of those. But give me this base one, Optic Hollow, at $10, $15 all day. I love that. That's down like 100% from where it was at.
If you got it on your screen, Andy, we're not seeing it over here.
Oh, dang, man. Yeah, okay. It's getting to that point in the night. Oh, good. Here it is. So this one here went for $20 with free shipping on October 9th. Beautiful. But
love it.
As you go up here, 16. Here's one for 10. Here's one for 11, another one for 10, 13
that's
plus
cheap.
3. Yeah, man, these are cheap. I think that's a nice little, sweet spot for Jamar Chase. His prism is not very, it's okay, but it doesn't have a ton of demand. Like I'm not seeing. I'll come and pull up his graded market. Of course, there's still going to be a lot of stuff still making its way into and out of PSA and these other grading companies. So it's actually is based on risk just by nature, it's going to be the most popular because it's going to have the highest population. But look at the down percentages on all of those. And someone even snuck a Trevor Lawrence in there that was probably had Jamar Chase in the listing or something.
Once all these bulk submissions come back from PSA, that pop's going to go up to, 3-4K probably.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree that eventually that pop will go up to 3-4K. Let's see see someone put 2021 Jamar Chase red ice. So I just there you go. The red ice 135 from 288 250. I mean, so you could see it great time to buy the dip on Jamar Chase. And I'm not sure that it won't keep going. It won't keep going down here a little bit more unless they get their act together sooner. Like I'm surprised he hasn't had a breakout game already. So that's why I've been telling Carter I think this is the time to strike on both Burrow and Chase. But I mean, there's a possibility they could continue to struggle. I just have a hard time believing it. They get, the Saints this weekend, the Falcons, the Browns. I have a hard time believing that they're going to continue to struggle here, Steve. I mean, I'm going to look at the Saints, and they're playing okay, but let me look at where their past defense is.
Saints won a lot of games in the past because of their secondary, because of their defense. Defense hasn't looked good this year, honestly, but they've actually been winning other ways. So, I mean, look at, their de facto tight end / ex quarterback going off for 3 touchdowns. So,
yep. They're currently ranked 13th according to Football Outsiders, their passing defense, DVOA is 13th, the rushing defense 10th. So not terrible, not bad at all. Overall, their defense is ranked 12th right now in the NFL. So yeah, it's not terrible. They're like not playing nearly at the level like Cleveland. So that this is going to be an interesting matchup against the Saints this weekend for the Bengals. They're in New Orleans, which also makes a difference. And I think you could see them struggle once again in this game, especially if New Orleans secondary, guys like Tyrann Mathieu, Marshawn Lattimore, they can step up, man, to make some plays. And then you got Cam Jordan putting pressure off the line. I mean, you could see them stepping up. You could see actually New Orleans winning this game, Steve. I could see New Orleans winning this game, which would drive the prices down even more on Burrow and Chase, only for them to go into the Falcons, smash the Falcons. Maybe that's the breakout game you've been waiting for. Then the Browns, who currently their defense ranks 30th. So, yeah, give me that matchup. You know what I'm saying? The Browns defense ranks 30th. Their pass DVOA is 16th, but their rushing DVOA is 32. So I like that matchup. Atlanta's not much better, man. 20th and 27th. So I feel like both of those matchups are going to be a lot easier. They could lose, though, again this weekend against New Orleans. It is not a sure thing by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, you got to get T. Higgins back on the field, get him healthy. And, if they're doubling Chase, tripling Chase, whatever the case is, then you're relying on, your third string, fourth string receivers or your tight end to win you games. And those guys just aren't going to do it. They can make big plays, but again, that's a big dice roll. You're not moving the chains. You're not providing consistent, reliable offense. I think T. Higgins just has to get back on the field. They'll be fine.
Joey B's going to have to throw the ball like Geno Smith did last weekend. I haven't seen those throws in Joey so far this year. So maybe this is the game he pulls it out, but I don't know, man. In New Orleans, 44-point over under, a tight game. Vegas is expecting this to be a tight game. Only a 2-point. Cincinnati is actually 2-point favorites, which is interesting. But the spread has actually moved down. The over under, I should say, has moved down from 44.5 to 44. This is going to be an interesting game for sure. I think it's going to be a close one.
I still want to see him go back. I want to see him go back to the Super Bowl, not just for my Burrow collection, but I like the team. I think that they have Colts type framework when they had Wayne and Manning and stuff like that. Obviously a bit younger version, like Marvin Harrison and those guys. They have the right team archetype to run off for a long time. So I guess we'll see what happens.
There we go. JP's got some nice analysis here for you. Yeah, Chase has been getting double covered, bracket covered. Higgins, yep, he did torch Xavier Howard. That was nice to see. So hopefully he comes back, and looking forward to buying the dip on some of those guys, man, for sure. All right, guys, we are 2 hours and 12 minutes. This has been a fun live stream, man. So make sure you're subscribed. Stay tuned. And Ryan, I think he's some smoke and mirrors, but I think it's Zach Wilson is more a product. Look what happens when you get a really good run game going and you establish that run and you make Zach Wilson more of a game manager, right? Make Zach Wilson more of a game manager, play better defense, and look what happens. He's all of a sudden taking steps forward. They're winning games. When's the last time you've seen the Jets win a blowout, Steve? This is what happens. Get that run game going, play some better defense.
Yeah, they're trending in the right direction, and Wilson can be a capable quarterback. He can do Joe Flacco type numbers without having to throw the ball 60 times a game. So they have a young, talented team. Maybe it's not all Zach Wilson, but again, at the end of the day, people are going to base their success on their wins and his production, whether it's his skill or his teammates' skill. No one's going to really differentiate.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, guys. We'll be back soon. I'm still trying to get my life in order on the weekend so we could do a second live stream, whether it's right before the games or Saturday night or after Sunday night on the games. It seems to be always something crazy going down on the weekends for me personally. So stay tuned. We'll definitely put out daily content during the week, and we'll be back very soon, man. It's been a fun live stream, Steve. Appreciate all you guys. Make sure you're subscribed and stay tuned for the next video. Go join the Patreon, the Discord community if you really care and you want the ultimate football card experience. We'll see you over there.
That's right. If you like memes, you like talking football, fantasy, whatever, we're always active in there. It's been great, guys. Have an awesome evening. Andy, always a pleasure.
Yes, sir. Peace.